Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think most people have joined on. We appreciate everybody that has registered and is attending our webinar focused training today. Our training webinar series will focus on Geotab's 6 pillars of innovation, kicking off with the productivity pillar. Just some quick housekeeping notes. Please note that the webinar will be recorded and we will be made available for viewing on our YouTube channel or for download on request. Please type in your questions in the Q&A section at the bottom of the webinar screen. These will be addressed in the Q&A portion and in the webinar. If you feel you want to ask a question at the end, please raise your hand and then we will allow you to ask the question. Without further delay, I would like to introduce Donovan Garish, Support Supervisor at Geotab Africa. He will take us through today's session.
Morning, Rian. Thank you. Good morning, and thank you guys for joining us this morning. Today, I'm going to be talking on productivity and how it is set up and measured in the system. Productivity can be considered one of the most important reasons to invest in a fleet management system next to something like driver monitoring and so on. Productivity is a very broad spectrum topic that can be approached from different angles, but when analyzed, it's still made up of the same core features. I'm going to explain some reports that go on the dashboard, but please keep in mind this isn't the only way to set up the reports. The same way we set up dashboard reports, we can also set up email reports. It depends on you as the fleet manager, how you would like to digest the data available. It is important after the setup phase to get the system working for you and making it as easy as possible to get the information you require. When we talk about productivity, the main concepts around this are utilization, making sure I'm maximizing how my vehicle is used during the time I have in the day. Optimization, making sure the vehicle is taking the least time to travel to clients and spending less time at delivery points. At the end, productivity can thus be defined as a relationship between the work a vehicle does and the resources required to do it. So in the key points that we're going to be covering today, firstly, we're going to be talking about fleet health, making sure that devices in the vehicle are working in order to gather the data needed to populate the reports. We will be looking at a few key points on setting up the system in terms of rules and how zones are used to measure productivity. This is the groundwork needed to set up things like notifications and reporting. Once that is done, we will move on to reporting and which are important for this exercise. The reports in the system are not the only ones that should be considered, but should form the basis of measuring the productivity. The reports we are going to look at include trip and activity reports, a very interesting report called the Asset Utilization Report, and how to create an effective dashboard that would give you an instant overview of the productivity of your fleet. The watchdog report should be an essential part of every client's dashboard. This is a default report in the system and should be displayed to show the health status of every device in the fleet. It is only logical that if some reason the device is not working, therefore it won't be transmitting the data to be included in the report. Please report these to us immediately to start fault finding process so that we can get the device sending data. It must be mentioned that the device does have an onboard memory, so if there is a good chance that the device's data will be recovered. The default watchdog reports will show the device status for a few days, but there is an option for a watchdog report that will give hourly updates on the fleet health. Both reports are a few clicks away from being added to the dashboard. If you download the report by simply clicking on it from the dashboard, one of the pieces of information in the report would be the last known location. This is important as it may indicate that the vehicle may be in for maintenance or a service, and this may be the reason the device has not connected in some time. If there is a trend that the vehicle has spent an extended amount of time in a workshop, firstly, this vehicle is going to be unproductive, and secondly, it may be costing the company extra for keeping it on the road. It is also worth considering a telematics fault report that gives a better idea of problems, if there are any, with the device. The device reports faults like power resets, low battery voltage, if the vehicle may be standing for a while, GPS fault, and excessive accelerometer data that will assist in fault finding while the device might be offline. In order to set up rules and reports, some groundwork needs to be done. Firstly, your customer zones, office zones, and home zones need to be captured. These are the system-defined zone types and are used in defaults in the reports measuring productivity. It's important this gets done accurately and is kept up to date so that the data in the reports is being accurately recorded. On any of the map screens, these zones can either be manually drawn in, or if you have a large database of customer zones, they can also be imported into the system. Secondly, the working times need to be set up so that the system can detect instances of excessive after-hours usage and vehicles arriving in home zones during work hours. We can set up multiple working hours to accommodate when vehicles have to work different shifts. In these instances, we may need to assist in customizing the reports in order to display the shift information as needed. We can set up custom zone types such as no-go areas that we can set rules against, but the default reports use these zone types. In the rules menu, there are default rules that can be turned on once the working times and zones have been set up correctly. These include idling. A vehicle that is idling excessively is an unproductive vehicle and is also costing the company extra money. Not only is it burning fuel unnecessarily, but increasing wear and tear on the engine, thus incurring extra maintenance costs. The rule can be edited to highlight idling outside of customer zones where vehicles may be idling while waiting to load or offload. Late arrival and early departure. These indicate that the vehicle has left home late in the morning and gotten home early in the afternoon, meaning the vehicle or staff member is not making full use of the working day. Too much time at the office. If the vehicle is parked off for extended periods during the day at the office, it indicates the vehicle is not being utilized and therefore unproductive. There is also an option to create custom rules, as the default rules may not be enough to ensure the vehicles are meeting your productivity targets. One such rule that may be useful but not included in the default list may be something like, I would like to know if my vehicles are making any stops outside of customer or office zones during work hours, as this may be considered an unauthorized stop, meaning this will affect the vehicle's productivity. Please also remember that high priority exceptions can also be enabled to be sent by email to notify you immediately of the infringement so that it can be dealt with more swiftly. Now we're getting into the report setup. There are reports such as the activity summary report that are already on the dashboard as part of the default reports. I have to mention again that the zone information, if the zone information is incorrect, the information in the report will be inaccurate. Ideally, what you would want to see is mostly driving and customer visits on the report. And if there are excessive non-customer visits, this is an alarm bell that should be raised. Other reports to consider may be things like distance traveled in a certain time period, customers that are keeping your vehicles there for a long time, driving duration during the day, and customers with the most stops recorded. The asset utilization report is a potentially powerful custom report that has been set up and can be easily added to a client database. It shows both spectrums in that over a 30-day period, it will show the most utilized vehicles and least utilized vehicles. What is equally important is that in a single report, it gives the top 10 in 3 different categories: days driven, time driven, and distance driven. These categories are not necessarily codependent, but will give some insights if the vehicles are being utilized correctly. This report will assist in highlighting which vehicles maybe carrying a lot of the workload than others, and for those showing the least activity, and at least start asking and at least start raising queries as to why. What also may become apparent is if some regions or departments are not being utilized as much and assets can be reassigned as needed. There also may be a seasonal fluctuation that could account for the increase or decrease in vehicle utilization. A vehicle that is appearing on the most utilized side of the spectrum may appear to be productive, but it may be lacking the efficiency in getting work done, thus missing delivery times. It is important to make sure that the workload is spread evenly while still making sure that the vehicles are operating efficiently. Another point to consider is a score to benchmark or help qualify the productivity of vehicles, as shown below. We would have to consider time spent at customers, etc., but hopefully the point has been made. Something as simple as a trip history report can be used to create this productivity score type report. As I spend a lot of my time giving training and interacting with clients, I would say that the dashboard is a really underused resource and its importance understated. In my opinion, this should be every fleet manager's landing page and should give an immediate overview of what is happening in the fleet. Please remember that it can be uniquely customized for each user on the database so that the fleet manager, for example, can view his productivity reports, whereas the maintenance manager can view the telematics faults and maintenance type reports. Today, I've mentioned the watchdog report, the activity summary report, the asset utilization report, and the fault report. These are only but a few reports that can be added by adding a pivot chart to an existing Excel report and imported to the dashboard. Thank you. I guess in closing, optimization really does just, we set up reports for monitoring the utilization and the optimization of your fleet. We can address some questions now.
Okay. I don't see any questions coming through as such. As I said, you can reach out to us on our various channels. We will also be sending you the notification for the video to be able to download information. Thank you very much for all participants that joined today, and have a good day rest of the day. Thank you.